Hi, it's me, Carrie Silver Lining Mena, and I just want to do a quick intro. I did already record the video and I had pretty good success. I barely forgot anything. I did forget some stuff, and some of it I'm just going to put off to a different day. I wanted to give a little teaser about what's coming up in the next Silver Linings video, and because I think people will be interested in that, and that's basically how my guides are using food to train me. I'm being trained through treats. And what a perfect time for it to happen, right at the quarantine when we're all just overindulging in snacks and stuff. Stick around for that, because I think we can all get a little bit of benefit. And I mentioned snacks and quarantine. That was just convenient. My guides are using the two things to help me retrain my brain and create new neural pathways in order to more efficiently manifest stuff. So I'll go into more detail about that at a different day. Another thing I wanted to just mention quickly is that I spent some time talking some shit about my husband in this video, and I'm not sure that, I just want it to be clear that while all that stuff is true, he is a good man, and that's just part of the relationship. So don't think too unkindly of him, because he's got so many redeeming qualities, so many. In fact, I always say it's just that one thing. So of all the things, he's only got one that's fucked up, and that's the one I chose to focus on today. But there was a reason, and I hope you guys can get a little bit out of that. Okay, that was it. Okay. Oh, no, it's not. I have to tell you one more thing. Because we are in quarantine and we're all trying to find new things to do, my girl was digging under my bathroom sink, just looking for treasures. And she found some. She found some hair dye, some temporary hair dye. I had a pink and I had a green that actually Carrie Walker gave to me, because I guess her boys were dyeing their hair one day. So I got the leftovers, and we haven't attempted the green yet, but she did her hair like from here down in pink, and it looks pretty. It's almost like this color when you mix it with her brown. And I just tried to do this part. I just did a little bit right here, but my hair's too dark and it didn't take. However, I can show you the color because my scalp got dyed. Look at that. So if you see me bend down and you see this big splot on my head, I promise it's not blood. It's just pink hair dye that didn't take. All right, you guys, that's it. I'm keeping this intro short for once in my life. Everything else that I missed, I'll just pick up in a different video. Thank you always for letting me heal through you, and I hope that you guys get something out of this video too. All right, enjoy your quarantine. Bye. Hi, it's me, Carrie Silver Lining Mena. And today on Silver Linings, I'm going to share what I learned in a recent reading I had with Heather and Eric. And I kind of had some time to process it. I've recorded this video a couple of times, so hopefully this is the one that will take. I get messed up and I forget things, or I misspeak, and I don't know how to edit very well, so I just have to scrap it and start over. It's very frustrating and time consuming, so cross our fingers that I nail it this time. To start off, I just want to give Eric props, because at the beginning of that, or part of that reading that I had, he wanted to inform me that I would be spending some time apart from my friends, and I immediately went to, oh no, I'm falling out of vibration with them. And he said, no, it's not a vibration thing. There's just some shit that's going to go on, and I don't want you to worry about it. I've told you it's going to happen and you're going to be fine. And I didn't pay any mind to that. It could have been anything, but all I heard was, you're going to be fine. But another week or 10 days went by, and guess what? Earth closed. So I'm not spending time with my friends. Things are going down, and we all are like staying with our families and doing family shit. So his cryptic message became clear right away. And I know it was to assure me that everything will be okay. Because you can, if you don't, a little bit of fear can, make you nuts. And I don't want to be scared. I don't want to attract any fearful stuff. And I just don't even want to be scared, even if it's not in my path and my path is strong enough to keep me safe. I don't want to feel that way. So I was really appreciative of him giving me that sneaky message that I soon understood. Another thing that he shared about that was, I asked about my boy, and what was my boy Josh. He's totally into government and communism and politics and all this stuff. He's got all these theories, and I'm like, where the fuck did this come from? Because my husband and I aren't into that at all. But But he explained that Eric explained that in a past life, my son was the first president of Turkey, and I forgot his name, but because of that life, he crossed with a bunch of anger. So this time around, he wanted to transmute that anger. So my boy is going to be spending the first couple decades of his life transmuting that. And I even asked, I talked to my boy about it, and I said, do you find yourself angry sometimes and you don't know why? And he goes, yeah. And I never, he's not a bad kid. He doesn't act out. He doesn't lash out. And I've hardly ever seen him angry, to tell the truth. So this must be something that's private and personal. But my boy is also, while he's really smart and savvy in many ways, he has like an immaturity about him. And Eric said that, it's going to take him a while, probably until mid-20s or 30s, before he gets his shit together and starts to become responsible. So he's going to probably be one of those people that stays home and, goes to college and takes cushy classes through whatever it's going to be. And I don't care. I just want him to be, happy and productive in this life. But now that I know that he is going to kind of take things slow, and he, won't come into his own for quite some time, it takes the pressure off of me to put pressure on him to man up and take care of biz. So right now his work is to just be chill and process that anger. And I also asked Eric about how I always post, I didn't want to forget that part, post about my happy family adventures, camping, anniversaries, birthdays, just whatever. There's always lots of smiles and a great story time to go with it. And all of those posts, all those pictures, everything that I share about is true. But there's another half that I don't share about. I'm going to share about it right now. And my husband and I, we fight a lot, and I investigated a little bit about that as to why. But getting back to my boy, and this is probably true of all my kids, but I asked my Eric, why did I choose such a tumultuous relationship? And he said that there's a lot of growth in combat. We fight a lot. We're very different people in many ways. And because of that polarity of him being who he is and me being who I am, and we're both good people and we both have, good qualities about us, but they're very different. So, Josh, and I'm sure my other kids too, they're going to have the option to kind of follow one or the other, but Josh in particular is going to take the best of both and create his own way of being. And as a parent, I just can't ask for anything more, because, we both have strengths and weaknesses, or everybody does. And so just to hear that, he's going to take the good from both, he'll probably take some bad from both of us too, but to be a mix of the two of us really is going to provide him with some great balance. And I don't know if I said this. I think I did. Yes, I've tried to make this video before, but the last couple times I've done it, my husband has walked in on me, and one time he heard me, but the second time it just threw me off, and I lost my train of thought, like indefinitely. But when he heard me later on, he called me out on it, and I was talking about what I'm just about to talk about our relationship, our fighting, and our future and all that. And he goes, who are you doing that video? Who are you talking to? And I said, that's just my personal story, my solo videos on silver linings. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but even he said it in a stern voice, but he was like correct in the way the things he said to me, very uncharacteristic of him, because he can be accusing sometimes. But I had to give him really big props, because he didn't ask me to not post my video. He just would prefer, I don't even know, he didn't even really have anything to say to me. He just wanted to know who I was talking to and why. And his main thing was, well, because I'm talking about, I know I learned about my future, this, that. And he goes, you don't have to listen to anything those mediums say. And, he might even be saying that they're full of shit or whatever. But in my mind, I'm thinking the mediums are actually just validating what I already feel in my heart. So I'm not going by their advice. I'm going by my own heart, but appreciating the validation that they're giving me. But I got to give him big points for not only speaking to me in a respectful way, but for being strong enough within himself to be okay with me sharing these parts of our story, our personal life. I don't know how comfortable I'd feel if somebody was, sharing these kinds of details about me. But he's so strong in his sense of self that it didn't really bother him too much. In fact, his sense of self may be a little bit too strong because he's so confident in who he is that he is unwilling to make changes. And I learned that one of the reasons that he chose to marry me was because of that. Because in this tumultuous relationship, in this combative relationship, Eric says there's much to learn. And that makes sense because we often learn through challenges and strife. We don't always learn through peace because we're just chill and whatever, not thinking about things, just enjoying. But it's when conflict comes into our lives and trying to solve it and having contrast, that's where the real learning comes in. So our relationship, even though it's been so beautiful and so great in so many ways, it's also had plenty of learning going on. So I asked, well, what are we learning from each other? Or, why do we fight so much? And Eric says, you hold up a mirror for him. And what I learned that, I learned a long time ago what a strong woman I was told in a reading by Justin Schmoyer like 6 years ago. You're a very strong woman and you're going to learn about it at some point. You're going to recognize that strength. This is one of those moments that I do. I had another moment there's a few, but another like big chunk of moments, I guess, switched together was my awakening because that was so fucking intense. I wasn't just healing, transmuting, and purging for myself, although that was it too. There's just no way I had that much damage in my youth to equate the amount of processing and releasing and shedding I did. So it's my belief that I was also healing for other lifetimes of mine, lifetimes for M6, the other members of M6, and the planet as a whole. So I had a lot of stuff going on, and that takes strength. And this other thing that I learned is how strong I am in my relationship with my husband. I cry all the time. I'm a big whiny baby all the time. So, big whiny baby implies big whiny baby, but there is such a strength to me, and let me tell you about that. My husband has spent the past several lives of his trying to overcome this one obstacle in his life, and that obstacle is just kind of a shitty glass is half empty attitude. He has a default setting for jumping to the worst case scenario, the worst conclusion. If somebody says or does something to him, he's going to go straight to the most negative interpretation possible. And I am the opposite. I will overthink and I will come up with every single possibility as to why somebody mistreated me in order to come up with a reason why it really wasn't me they were being shitty to. It could have been the bad day they had at work. It could have been somebody that cut them off in traffic. It could have been bad sleep. It could have been anything, because I know I didn't deserve that. So I know that it must not be a direct attack on me. Whereas he automatically, if there's any question, there's no question with him. He just knows what you did and you did it this way and you were an ass and you were shitty and he's going to react accordingly. So he comes at me constantly. And I'm like, whoa, I wasn't there at all. I didn't mean to. Where did that come from? I don't get how he interprets my meaning to be this when I'm way over here. So what happens is that I call him out on it, and he doesn't want to hear it because he's so set in his ways. So it ends up becoming a big blowout. And part of the reason, maybe he does get things, but he just won't absorb it. He won't look at that mirror. He deflects things. He'll pull some bullshit out of the air and cling to that. And it can be something as simple as me misspeaking a word, and he'll cling to that. Like I'll say, don't bark at me. And he'll take that word bark and turn that into a fight. It's so insignificant. It's not an ugly word. It just means snap, speak unkindly, whatever. So I have to restate my whole sentence and say, please do not speak in an unkind tone with me, because he'll cling to that word bark. And I don't want to fight about the word bark. So he does everything in his power to run around in circles, avoiding what I actually called him out on, which was accusing me of something I hadn't done. So while I'm not exactly sure what the mirror I'm holding up, I think it's just a general attitude of shittiness, just a general attitude of thinking the worst in people. And I'm not having it. You have a few choices in life when somebody wrongs you. When it happens a few times, you can let it roll off your back. But when it happens all the time, your bucket gets filled up and there's no more room to let shit roll off your back. So at that point, you have two more choices. One of them is to, what's the word? Confront, address, express yourself. And tell the other person, hey, when this happens, when you do this to me, it hurts my feelings, or it makes me feel this way because blah, 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 whatever it is. You can express yourself, and you can hope that the person that's hearing you receives the information and does what they can to try to change it. Sometimes it's truly just an honest mistake or whatever it was. And it can be changed. Other things, like with my husband, it takes a lot of inner work. My husband, however, is in such denial of what he needs to work on the inside that he keeps himself busy like 99% of his awake time. That man is never sitting and doing nothing. I could stare at the clouds for 3 hours and just contemplate life. Not him. Even when he's sitting down watching TV, he's got to have a bowl of snacks. He's got to be doing something all the time. Drives me nuts. It's like, sit down and shut the fuck up, because you're making all of us crazy because you won't relax. So he fills his world up with work. And because work produces results, he doesn't see it as a bad thing. Oh yeah, you think I work too hard? You're living in this house that my hard work paid for. You think I work too much? Well, that credit card that you swipe all the time gets paid for because I work too much. Just whatever it is. So it's not like his vice or his denial is drugs, which are, fucking him up. It comes with a good result. So it's hard for him to see that he needs any kind of work to do. But here's the good news. I mean, even though we fight and we fight and we fight and we fight, we fight all the time. I get to the point where I'm screaming. And that other video Heather and I did with, whatever. We spoke about some personal stuff, and we spoke about gaslighting. That's another one of his MOs, is to derail me and talk in so many circles that I get so frustrated that I just get to the point of screaming. I literally scream at him. I scream so hard that my esophagus gets sore, my larynx, whatever, the inside stuff. And when I was a girl my whole life, I didn't have a voice. Here's my blue chakra being quiet, and stifled and shh. Now it's way over here, and I'm not taking shit from anybody, and I'm screaming it. So eventually I'll chill out. I'll be down here, because that's the way pendulums work. But in the meantime, or not in the meantime, at the end of all this hard work I'm doing, my husband, towards the end of his life, it will have started to sink in, because there will be a time all of his children will be grown and moved out, and I will have moved out. That's one of the things he says, with the mediums, you don't have to follow the mediums, but my own heart wants to go. I want my independence. I love my family, but I'm so tired of being accused of things I haven't done that I tell him every single time, this is the reason I'm going to leave. This is the reason our marriage is going to dissolve. It's because you keep accusing me of things I haven't done, and I'm done with that. I'm done. I'm a really nice and shiny girl, and sure, I have a temper. I get, sometimes I get angry and I can mouth off, but I'm generally a pretty nice person. All my motivations come from a good place. Even this talking shit right now comes from a good place. It's learning and teaching. It's evolving. So I'm not just sitting here just to be ugly. I'm sitting here to express myself and heal myself. And maybe in the meantime, somebody else can identify with it and, get a little piece of healing from it too. So there's going to be a point where I move out and I guess we're divorcing. That's weird to me. I don't really like to think of that too much. I've been married to him since I was 20 years old. And but I've said all along that I would like to come back to him at some point, not as a husband and wife, but as a friendship, because he's my family. And it would be nice to live out my days with my friend, although perhaps not in close quarters. I have this fantasy of like having a duplex and he gets one and I get the other. And we can meet in the middle for meals. And when things go south, we'll just go back to our respective homes. That sounds great. But he's going to have some time to be on his own and finally self-reflect, because he won't have a whole family full of people to take care of. He won't have a job to go to anymore. So it'll start to sink in, but it's not until he crosses over and has his life review that he has finally learned the lesson that he's been trying so hard. So I did it. Me and my strength did it. I raised my hand and signed up to teach him to do it. Hold up that mirror for him, and my efforts paid off. And while I will never really experience the benefits, reaping the rewards of that hard work, it does make me feel good to know that he got to a place that he wanted to be, and I did it. I'm taking a little bit of pride in being the one to teach this stubborn man some kindness. Teaching this stubborn man how to see the glass is half full or all the way full rather than half empty. And okay, so I think I'm done with that story. I guess what I want you to learn from that is that if you are experiencing a tumultuous relationship, try to, when you can and you calm down, step back, see it from the expanded point of view. Oh, I asked, what do I see in the mirror he holds up for me? And Eric says, he's not holding up a mirror for you. And I thought that was interesting because, of course, I do learn from him. You learn from everybody that you're with. But my lessons were so big that I had to have like a second mama to deal with my mama issues. And I had to have not one, but two twins to deal with all of the other shit. And in fact, with Michael, spoke about that awakening and processing and all that stuff. What was I going to say about that? I forgot. Move on. Okay. So he didn't have a mirror that he's holding up for me. Oh God, I totally derailed myself. Hang on. I guess I'm just going to skip that and move on then. Okay. Oh, there's another thing that that I'm going to teach him too. And even though he doesn't talk about it much, he's still very fearful of going to hell and demons and things like that. Isn't that trippy? I mean, I'm so in the other place. It's so fairy tale to me. It's like trying to tell your kids to behave or the boogeyman's going to get you. That's what it feels like to me. And to have an adult so fearful of the boogeyman, I really am talking shit. That's just stupid to me. And it's sad. It's sad. I mean, he still has dreams and I can hear him. He's like, El Diablo, which is, the devil in Spanish. It's trippy. How can you still be scared of Satan in hell, especially if you're married to me? Anyway, hopefully he's going to get over that. I don't think he is, because Eric actually said to me, he goes, he's still going to be afraid of it, but don't worry, I'll be right there when he crosses over to help him. And that just touched my heart so much, because Eric's always been my ally, and I know that they will, give you what you need. So when I hate my husband, Eric hates him right along with me. And I know that's not really true, but, just as a source of support for me, he'll be on my team. It doesn't hurt anybody. So it surprised me when he had that little bit of kindness that it would be him, probably others, but him too, to be there to help my husband not fear hell. Oh God, that makes me sad for him that he's so scared of that, because that's serious. Can you imagine? I mean, I'm sure some of you have been raised up in religious homes where you really did fear going to fiery brimstone hell. How scary is that? Wow. Okay, so moving on. The next thing that I learned in my reading, and I've gotten this message a few times. I've learned, Eric has, how what a horny girl I am, and how much I'm looking forward to a boyfriend and sex and all that juicy stuff. Well, and I've also said before too that to me, sex and love are synonymous, and I kind of retracted that a little bit at one point because they're not exactly synonymous, because I can have love without sex. I just can't have sex without love. So if there's no love, then sex does not feel like love to me. It's got to be, I got to have both in order for them to have that synonymous feeling. But Eric has said to me, and my other guides too, a few times, it's not sex that you crave. It just feels like that. But I do. But it's intimacy. And I didn't pay attention to it the first couple times because I had bigger or other fish to fry. But I'm ready to explore that now. And I'm like, intimacy, because again, to me, intimacy and sex were synonymous. And intimacy can be defined in that way, being naked in the bed with somebody. That's very intimate. But it's not the only definition. And as I started to think about this, I'm like, oh, I know what he means. He means, well, for example, I've said to myself, I've said to my twins, and I've said to my friends about my twins, I miss my friend. I miss my friend, meaning, I miss my relationship with these men. And I was, even willing to give up like the boyfriend parts of it just to have them back as friends, not realizing that what I meant by friends is what Eric means by intimacy. So an intimate friendship with the boyfriend is not the same thing as like my friendship with Sarah or Heather. I'm very close to them and I can tell them anything, but it's not the same. I'm not going to, I don't know, I don't have to describe the difference between, curling in the arm of your loved one, your whatever. I don't have any words right now. Versus talking to your girlfriend about it. It's just different. And so, yes, I absolutely do crave intimacy. So I was glad to figure that out because I know that, well, I don't know, but I'm thinking that a lot of my relationship, because they're global, will be online. And I'm comfortable with that. I get a lot out of, like when I was still talking to Fairy Boy, I had that kind of intimacy with him. We were friends and we did confide in one another. It was a true exchange for a while, and I really liked that. I liked waking up and grabbing my phone to see if there was a message from him and spending the next hour or two going back and forth. That was real nice. I liked that. And because I know I am to travel the world, I know that eventually I will connect physically with these men, but a lot of it is going to be online, and you can absolutely have intimacy through cyberspace. And let me continue on with this sex part as long as I'm on there. Eric also told me that, and I didn't see it at all. He says I'm still feeling like I gotta sell myself, like I gotta use sex as bait to earn the affections of the men that I'm interested in. And I thought about that, and it's true. I just kind of thought that because I want it so bad, when I'm throwing it at him, it's because I want it. But no, I'm still feeling like in order to be worthy, I got to give that piece of myself up. And I need to understand, and I need to let it soak in that while, it probably will be a package deal, it's not a selling point. I deserve love because of who I am, not because of what my vagina has to offer. So I'm kind of exploring that, and I don't think it will be much of a cross for that one. I think now that the realization is here, I'll be able to make that leap from knowing that I don't have to use sex as bait to get people to love me. They're going to love me for who I am, and the rest will be a bonus icing on that cake. So I want to go ahead and talk about that fairy boy twin a little bit. I want to brag a little bit because I didn't get a chance to talk about this earlier because I didn't even realize it. But well, let me start with Michael, because Michael, it was never a real romance. I always called him my pretend boyfriend. It was always me chasing him, and we both knew, well, we sort of knew what it was. We didn't know what to do with it. We knew it was something to do with spirituality. We knew I was tapping into other lives. We knew that it really wasn't about he and I so much as about me healing through him. And this went on for years. And so because of that, I never really, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to get at necessarily. I was hoping it would just fall out. But basically, Michael didn't do anything to earn my love and affections. It was completely on a soul level. It was my heart cracking wide open for somebody that I recognized for somewhere else so that I could grow my self-love through his rejection of me. Now, Fairy Boy, on the other hand, because it didn't seem like a pretend relationship, he didn't seem like a pretend boyfriend, it seemed pretty real. And part of that was how like attracted I am to him physically. I'm attracted to Michael too, but that's like programmed. But this other guy, Fairy Boy, he's like my poster boy. He ticks off all the boxes and then some. And we're broken. I'm going to say broken when in our youth, and we carry this baggage throughout our adulthood. And those of us on a spiritual path are healing and undoing and shedding all the fuck that we are unfucking ourselves. So when I started to get fucked, I was not literally. That's funny. Maybe literally too. But when I started to acclimate the garbage of the world as a young girl, so my perceptions of the dream guy were, well, he Fairy Boy, he fits that profile. He was my poster boy, and I think about Katie Holmes, about when she was a teenager and she had posters of Tom Cruise all over her walls. And then guess what happened? She grew up and she married him. She had a little fairy tale. And I know that didn't turn out so well. I'm not expecting to join any cults with my boyfriends. But the beginning of it started off pretty sweet, didn't it? Marrying this guy that you had posters on your wall. And like I said, he like ticked off all my boxes and then some, because he comes with bonus options that I didn't even realize as a young girl that I wanted. Now that I'm an adult, I can see more qualities. So I'm really excited about spending time with him, and I really don't know what we're going to do, where we're going to go, what it's going to be about. I don't really, well, I expect to see him. I have no expectations, and it doesn't, what it's going to be, it doesn't even matter. Because just him coming back, just something happening, the boy that I'm interested in showing interest in me, that's it. That's it. That's winning right there. Because that's never happened. They never come back. It's always unrequited. It's always me giving them up. It's always me letting go, having a broken heart and being unsatisfied and unfulfilled. And so once I learned to have the self-love and not need that through a man, now I'm allowed to sort of have that. Does that make sense? Then, the universe brings it to you. So I'm expecting this Jack and Rose romance. Although that didn't end up so well either, did it? I have no intention of going on a boat that sinks and letting my man fall to the bottom of the ocean and drown, frozen. That's not happening. But the beginnings of that story of, Katie and Tom and Jack and Rose, I'm going to mix those together and cut the ends off. And I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait to brag about that. Ooh, I'm going to brag about one of them. I'm not sure which relationship or whatever it is, but I sure would like to share about what the twin connection is like. So based on the twin connection and what that's like, I have another story. And you guys know, if you've been following along, that, I had the two twins. Well, I had the third twin too, except this time the roles were reversed and I ended up being the runner. And I've already explained why. It was a lesson in observation, and I did learn quite a bit from that. It was just, well, I'll say quite a bit, but really it was just a drop in the bucket in like the grand scheme of all my lessons. And what's so interesting to me, I learned to have compassion for Michael because I'm the Michael now. I'm the one on this side of it. So I can see why, I can see why he treated me the way he did to some extent. And I did for Michael a little bit what my chaser did for me, it kind of in different ways, but I poured so much love on Michael that I inspired him, changed him, did something to him to want to experience that kind of love himself. He could not receive it from me or accept it from me because, his rejection was for my benefit and I wasn't there yet. So, because I loved him so much, he was able to open his heart up and find somebody that he could love and be in a relationship with. And that's kind of one of the things that my chaser did for me. He poured so much love on me. He showed me what it looks like to have somebody give me attention, unlike the ones that I had been chasing and, not giving me the time of day. So I think it's interesting too. I didn't catch on to that one for a while yet, that we both kind of had that same experience. But as a chaser, I always would wonder what it felt like to be the runner. Well, here I am. And I can only speak for myself because in this journey, I'm finally meeting other people that have twin relationships. And what I've learned is that, when you read it on the internet, like what they are, they're almost all the same. But whoever's writing these, I don't get how there's so much wrongness about them, because there's plenty of stories out there where each person's story is different. There is some commonalities, like I went fucking ape shit for this person, lost my fucking mind and all that. That's pretty normal. But every person's story is custom made for them because the higher self writes the script that you are to experience. So what my twins did to me was the same things that happened in my, my younger years. Same thing. So that's my story. So when I speak about these things and if I act like that's how it is across the board, it might not be. So again, I don't mean to put words in everybody's mouth. But the internet will tell you things like the reason the runners run is because they sense that there's so much love waiting for them and they can't handle it. They can't handle the enormity of the love, so they run away until they're ready to receive it. It's not it. I never felt that Michael was afraid of love with me. It was too big. I felt like he felt like it was his duty to let me, whine and cry on him. And Fairy Boy, I never felt like he feared any big love. I kind of felt like he enjoyed me and didn't really realize the extent of my feelings for him. And once he did, he's like, whoa, I don't want to hurt this girl. I better cut this shit out right now. So he, unlike Michael did not lay out any boundaries for me. Well, he laid a couple of them, but they were easy to manage. But Fairy Boy, he had to lay down the law for me. And after a couple more messages to him, I'm like, okay, I got to back off. I just had to, there's no reason to keep pursuing it. He made it clear that he didn't want to engage with me anymore. What are you going to do? So as the runner this time, I'm seeing, all of the things that I did, mostly with Michael. And it was happening, and I'm on the flip side. But there was a difference here. Like I said, Michael and I we knew it was spiritual, but we didn't really know what to do with it. But with Fairy Boy, I don't think he understood exactly what a twin relationship was. I don't know what he knows or what he thinks about it, but I think he thought that it was just like regular stuff. Like I'm a girl that had a bigger crush on him than he had on me. So much more than that. And I know this. So when I started realizing that this guy's chasing me and I'm seeing all the parallels between my relationship with Michael, I thought it was I wanted to. I was going to say my duty. That's the wrong word. My path. I believed it was my path to guide this guy through it, to explain to him what was happening, and to just to provide answers and information. And I did. And he was, really appreciative of that. But then there came a time where it started to not feel as good to me. And one of the messages that I got from my guides and that I passed on to him, because I was clear to him. I said, I'm not interested. This is a twin thing. I get that you're in love with me, and the reason you're in love with me is because it's your own growth, blah, blah, blah. So there may come a time where the universe finds a way to separate us, because that's just the way it happens. But I tried to be his friend, and I tried to coach him through it. And if you remember back in November, I went to Virginia with Sarah. And if you remember that video where I was sitting in that bathtub crying and snotting all over the place because I was so mad at the guides for putting me in this relationship that I did not want to be in. And then it was March and I'm in Vegas with Heather and I'm still so mad. I'm so pissed off. 2 weeks, 2 girlfriends, 2 vacations, and I'm still pissed off months apart. So it's not that I believe, I know what happened. What happened was because I was trying to be his friend, that wasn't going to work. So I knew that there was going to be a time where I was going to have to do what Fairy Boy did to me and lay down that law. And I had actually set a few boundaries with my chaser and he crossed them all. I'd remind him, he'd do it again. But I did too a little bit, and it irritated me, but I understood it, and I just ignored it because it was like, even though it irritated me, it wasn't like a real threat or a real bother or anything else. It was just like, ugh. But I was waiting for certain events to transpire before I laid down my law, before I set my final boundary with him. And I did this I waited not because I was fearful or dreading laying down this law. I just wanted to keep the peace all the way around. So I was just going to wait a little bit. But I realized that I couldn't because Fairy Girl, and I don't even know, I got to ask about this when I talk to Spirit again. We have like free will, but free will doesn't mean that I get to do whatever I want necessarily. It means that Fairy Girl and me are free of anybody else's will. So sometimes it's my ego against Fairy Girl, which is against myself. And we all know in the spiritual world what ego means. Ego is not always what's best for us. So, where was I going with this fucking ego thing? Hang on. I can't remember. I totally lost it. Okay, it'll come back to me. Okay, so I was trying to wait to tell him. Let me just go ahead. Wait to tell him about my boundary, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I know. Okay, free will. Got it. Okay, so you know how you like the expression, you fall in love? Well, you fall in love. You don't like take an intentional step into love. You fall in love. So how can that be a free will choice if all of a sudden one day you're in love? Because remember, I don't know if you remember this, but when I met Michael, it took me about 5 minutes to be completely head over heels in love with him. It was like, bam, my switch got flipped. So I feel like the higher self is turning the dials, the love dial, the fuck dial, and this time I experienced a new dial. It was my aversion dial. And Fairy Girl cranked that fucker up to a level that I didn't even know existed. And I became the runniest runner that ever ran. My level of aversion was so outlandish. It did not match. Remember a little bit ago I said that my son's anger did not match the circumstances of his life, that it was like coming from somewhere else? Well, that's how this was. It just didn't match because this guy, like I did with Michael, did nothing but pour love all over me. And for me to react the way I did, I felt like the girl being chased in a dark forest by a guy in a hockey mask. I don't know which scary guy that is. And I really wasn't afraid for my life, but I was in such a place of aversion that I was running like that. I mean, that's the image I felt, was just screaming through a forest, get away, get away. What is that? And I know that it was, well, I am a girl of extremes for one thing. For another thing, I just would not take my own advice. The advice that was given to me that I kept giving to my chaser, which was Check your relationships. Check in with them every once in a while. Every week, every day, every month, whatever it is, check in with them. Do they still feel good? Continue on. Do they not feel good? Then stop it. I told him this all the time because since he was in love with me, and I told him straight up, it ain't never going to happen. You're my observation. But he still was in the place of being in love and wooing me. And I kind of liked part of it for a while. He sent me gifts and he was real sweet and I liked that. But so I said, when that stops feeling good, I want you to stop. It was almost like I was giving him permission to give me gifts. Really, that's what it was like. But so I wanted him, I don't ever want to be somebody that takes advantage of anybody. I'm not a user. I'm not like looking for a sugar daddy or anything like that. I'm looking for love. So I really wanted him to make his choice that when it stops feeling good, stop being sweet to me. You don't have to keep doing that. But I wasn't taking my own advice. And I finally did, because that dial was cranked up so high that I realized this does not feel good to me anymore. I mean, from November on vacation to March on vacation, I was just, I was tearing myself up about it because I was trying to be nice. So while I was in Vegas, I went ahead and I did set that boundary. And I was very clear. I said, I warned you that this might happen. And I said, and I even told him about, the stalker in the forest. And he goes, well, I don't think I stalk you. And I'm like, you don't stalk me. It's not that. It's that I'm a girl of extremes and my dial was turned up on full blast. And it's because I wasn't getting the message to set this boundary. Because you need to feel the rejection. You need to feel the unrequited love so that you can acquire self-love. And once I did that, I I just felt peace. I just knew that I had done the right thing. And he did what I did and he sent me a few of my messages just like I did with Fairy Boy, but he has since left me alone. He's given me that space that it's so funny. It's like I'm saying the space that I needed, but in the bigger picture, it's what he needs. It's crazy. And knowing these things does take the sting out of it a little bit, but it still hurts. Actually, he seems to be doing pretty good. I've been reading his stories and he's inspired lots of people. He's been sharing his story. And in fact, he wants to share our story too, but he didn't want to be disrespectful of me because, as you see, I got code names for everybody. I got Fairy Boy and Chaser. Michael's the only one, and Surrogate Mom. Michael's the only one whose name I use, and I don't even know if he knows this yet. He'll find out one day, and hopefully he won't get pissed. But oh fuck, I got derailed again. But I know it had something to do with I don't know. Okay, you know what I do? I just continue on. It comes back to me. So one of the things so the story, that's it. So I see him online and he seems to be doing pretty good. He wants to share our story. I told him to go ahead and, you can mention my name. That's what it was. You can stake your claim that I'm the Twinnie. I said, but you may want to wait because you know who I am and I share my stories. And this is going to be part of the story too. I'm going to describe how, being the runner, how it felt for me, and I think he got a little bit worried too that I would depict him as being a lovesick puppy. But to be honest, when you are the chaser, that's very much what it's like. I took it to a whole new level. I went way beyond lovesick puppy and I went straight into desperate and pathetic puppy. And I stayed there for a long, long time. So hard climbing out of that. I used to, in capital letters, I'd scream at Michael, get me off this motherfucking ride. I could not get off the ride. I'm finally off. But you know what? And I'm going to say this directly to Chaser because I know he's going to watch this. I'm also going to say to anybody else who's been in this same place of chasing somebody, it does have its moments of humiliation. And you do feel like, again, I'm speaking for myself, but I think I may be speaking for others too. It doesn't always feel good to be chasing unrequited love. It does make you feel a little desperate and stuff. It does make you feel like lovesick puppy, but I like to find the light behind the dark. I like to find the beauty in things. And isn't that just the most beautiful thing ever, to finding a soul connection like that? feeling them. I did not, just like with Michael and just like with Fairy Boy, they didn't do anything to earn my love. I love them based solely on what my soul remembers. It's my superpower. So anybody that has these experiences of chasing after somebody, in between feeling like the lovesick puppy or desperate and pathetic puppy, take some time to appreciate how beautiful it is that your higher self created a path in which you will remember the souls that you love so much on the other side. I think that's so beautiful. I think that's so beautiful. So honor that. Honor that part of it. Okay, I don't know if I have anything else to say. I bet I do. Well, I'm going to shut this down here. I've been at this recording biz all day long, and I'm going to review it. Hopefully I won't come back and tack anything at the end. If I do, you'll know it because this will start right back up. But if I don't, thank you again for watching and supporting me and growing through me or with me as I grow. Whatever, the same things I always say. I really do have much gratitude for this opportunity to grow through my show. Thank you.